In a year of nothing but remakes, reboots, and sequels, Gladiator 2 is the sequel that we just simply did not need. Now, is it a good movie? No. Is it the worst thing I have ever seen in my life? Definitely not. Is it historically accurate? No, not at all. Does Ridley Scott need to retire? Yes, and I said this when he did his Napoleon movie. Now, I'm not looking for historical accuracy when it comes to Gladiator. That is not something I 100% care about. Something like Napoleon, yes, that would be something I would expect to hit the beats of historical accuracy. That being said, Gladiator 2 just kind of felt like a completely unnecessary and slightly rehashed version of the first movie, except it is split between two characters. You kind of follow Pedro Pascal in the beginning as a sort of main character, and then you follow Lucius as well as, well, you follow him throughout the entire movie as he gets captured, gets bought and sold into the gladiator arena and ring, and he builds his way up to then essentially cause an uprising and the eventual collapse of Rome. Lucius himself was kind of hard to get behind. He wasn't a character I was necessarily rooting for the entire time, and I felt like he did not really grab the attention during his runtime on the screen, not like the original with Russell Crowe, where he just had much more depth as a character. And like I said, they kind of split that idea between Pedro and Lucius, two different characters completely. On top of all of that, the leaders of Rome, it was shocking. They acted like children the entire time, lashing out, freaking out. And like I said, it's kind of shocking that they would even be leaders of such a successful empire and such a amazing empire, right? When you look at Rome and what they were able to complete, obviously the way these two acted in the movie, probably much different than they do in real life. And that's where the historical inaccuracies probably come in more. But yes, it got to the point where you're watching the emperors of Rome scream at the top of their lungs, acting like children, lashing out, and it's just cringy. It's hard to get through. I watched this movie twice, and preparing to re-watch those scenes was a bit difficult because you know they're coming, and you know that they are absolutely horrid. The big spectacles, the big arena battles were okay to say the very least, very CGI heavy. For me personally, it felt like they were really pushing the water spectacle. They wanted to do this naval battle, and in the trailer they showed it. They really pushed it, and it only lasted roughly 3 to 5 minutes in the entire movie, and it's an over 2-hour movie, about 2.5 hours. So a 3-minute scene, 5-minute scene of this naval battle, which you would have figured maybe would have taken up more time, a little more excitement, a little more happening in it. It was kind of a letdown. It was a bit disappointing. To be honest, the entire movie is kind of like that, just a little bit of a letdown and disappointing. It's not terrible, it's not great. There's definitely things that could be cut out to shorten the runtime, to probably make it feel like it flows a little bit better, but it's a little hard to say what should and shouldn't be cut out, because there's a lot that, there's a lot that you could say isn't the greatest. Speaking of not the greatest, everybody likes to say Denzel Washington is one of the greatest actors ever, and I would say he definitely has put on some good performances, but in this movie, he's incredibly lackluster. Now, whether or not they put him in a suitable role, or he just didn't care about the role, or it was Ridley Scott's directing telling him to just act normal, who actually knows, but I just think he was not very good in this movie. Pedro Pascal, a mid-actor in a mid-movie. I didn't have much hope going into this, and as it currently sits, the movie cost $310 million, and it most likely has a prints and ads marketing campaign of $100 to $150 million. If I had to guess, that's what these big blockbuster movies typically have. Pushing this to nearly a $500 million movie. I can't see this being a massive success domestically, which is where you want that money to come from. But internationally, it appears to be doing pretty damn well. So depending on where the money is coming from and how the percentages line up, this movie might be able to break even at the bare minimum. I highly doubt it. With some of the reports coming out that this movie had a 2-month film period, that it was shot within 58 days or 59 days. If that is true, to be honest, that's pretty impressive. And I'm not saying that it bumps it down a few levels or it equals out for the fact that the movie's kind of mid, but it is pretty impressive that they were able to pump something out this big of a blockbuster movie within specifically 58 days. Is it a bit of a mess at times? Sure. It's still kind of impressive, though, I feel like. This is definitely not something the area of cinema should be aspiring to do, filming movies within 2 months, especially at this scale. But yes, it is kind of impressive at the very least. I probably would not recommend this movie. I would wait for it to come out on streaming. Do not waste your money on it. It's a very long, kind of drawn out, very mid movie, and you're not gonna get a lot of the satisfaction that the original one gave. Practical theatrics and everything in the first one is nowhere to really be found in this movie. It's just a CGI. I don't want to say it's a CGI mess, but sometimes it can definitely feel like that. But yeah, Gladiator 2, probably going to give it a solid 5.5.